So, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome everyone to this, I think this is our 7th international lecture, or maybe 6th, Allahu Alam. Anyways, this is the first for this year, this new year, 2022. And we have the honor to have with us Hujja, Dr. Mustafa Merter. And it's an honor to have all of you with us, dear excellent brothers and sisters, colleagues, and members of ISIP from all over the world. So we'll start by doing a short presentation of the session and lecture today, inshallah, and welcome once more. So let me just share my screen. All right. So, Bismillah walhamdulillah wa salawat wa salam ala Rasulullah wa alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear excellent, distinguished brothers, sisters, colleagues, members, and friends from all over the world. It's an honor to have you all with us, inshallah. So just a brief presentation of ISIP, and also to introduce our great Hujjam, our great Ustad and scholar, Dr. Mustafa Merter. Welcome to the ISIP. So today we will have a lecture with the topic from Western psychology into Ilm Al-Nafs, which is a very interesting topic. So we're very delighted to listen to Dr. Mustafa developing his thoughts and his reflections regarding this topic, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So this is a little bit about today's agenda, dear excellent brothers and sisters. We will start by reciting Surah Al-Fatiha. And after that, we'll do some introduction of ISIP. We'll give you all a certificate of appreciation, of course. And also we have a certificate of appreciation for the great works that Dr. Mustafa Merter is doing, inshallah. After the lecture with Dr., we will have Q&As in the end. The Q&As we will do from the Zoom chat, dear brothers and sisters, so you know. So we will not open up the microphones today. So please just feel free to write whatever questions you have in the Zoom chat. The Zoom chat will be open during the whole session. And during the Q&As, we will address the questions to Dr. Mustafa, inshallah. We will also send some links in the Zoom chat, a link to a feedback form that will be shared in the end of the session, inshallah. We will also share links to our, Islamic Psychology WhatsApp groups that ISIP is facilitating. And also we will share a link to the group of ISIP Turkey, actually. And Sister Zehra is with us today. She will introduce a little bit more about what we will do in the Turkish chapter of ISIP, inshallah. So let's start by reciting Surah Al-Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Rahman ar-Rahim, Malik yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Barakallahu feekum, everyone. So let's move on. Today's facilitators and moderators are myself, of course, but let's start by presenting others, and then I can introduce myself in the end. We have Zainab Riyaz from United Kingdom, studying Islamic psychology, mashallah, very active in the movement. She's also the task force facilitator in ISIP of ISIP Disability Outreach. And she is with us today as one of the facilitators. It's an honor to have you with us, Sister Zainab. We also have Sister Shireen Ismail from South Africa. Sister Shireen is an educational psychologist, and she's also the task force facilitator for ISIP's regional chapter in the Southern African region, doing an amazing job in facilitating and normalizing Islamic psychology in the Southern African region. An honor to have you with us, Sister. We also have Sister Noreen from India. Dr. Noreen, I should say. She is a graduate of Unani-Tib, an expert in Unani-Tib, and also studied many courses in Islamic psychology. She's also the task force facilitators of ISIP's local chapter in India, ISIP India, doing an amazing job. An honor to have you with us, Dr. Noreen. And last but definitely not least, we have Sister Roa Mustafa from Qatar, and Egypt. Sister Roa is, mashallah, very active within the field of Islamic psychology. She is, mashallah, doing a lot of research, a lot of clinical work, and also she is one of the task force facilitator for ISIP's regional chapter in the Arab world at ISIP Arabic. It's an honor to have you with us, Sister Roa, and all of you are doing an amazing job, really. And myself, my name is Sayyid Jamaluddin. I am from Sweden. I'm a counselor in Sweden, also doing my clinical psychology master's program at Lund University in Sweden, and also doing my Islamic psychology diploma program at CMC, the Cambridge Muslim College in UK. And I'm one of the co-founders of ISIP and the Al-Balkhi Institute. And it's an honor to be with all of you, inshallah. And already we want to ask for forgiveness for any shortcomings from our side. And all the shortcomings are from my side, and all the great comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A little bit about Zoom etiquettes, dear excellent colleagues. So keep mute during the whole session, please. And no recordings or screenshots, please, from the lecture. We will provide I don't think Dr. Mustafa will use any PowerPoint slides today, but we will provide the recording afterwards. We will upload it into ISIP's YouTube channel, and we will also share the YouTube channel's link in the Zoom chat. Feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have a lot of lectures there in English, Arabic, and Bahasa Indonesian, and Urdu, and many other languages as well. And all the questions you can ask in the chat, and we will address them to Hojam, Dr. Mustafa, at the end of the session, inshallah. A little bit about ISIP's mission statement, dear excellent brothers and sisters and colleagues. The ISIP, we want to be an inclusive space designed to connect people with diverse backgrounds interested in Islamic psychology. We're very much open for, all types of ideas that our members have, that they want to develop. We really want to show how strong we can be when the Ummah unites from all over the world. And we have so much to learn from each other's experiences and educational background. We also aim to disseminate knowledge, share resources, and discuss best practices in a free and accessible manner. So dissemination of knowledge is the core essence of ISIP's mission statement. We have a lot of resource sharing that has been done in our WhatsApp groups and Telegram groups. We do a lot of halaqas, lecture series, we do conferences. We have a lot of different projects, and everything we do is free of charge. We want everybody to benefit from the sacred knowledge of Islamic psychology. It doesn't matter which social, economical background you have, or which country or nationality you come from. As long as you're interested, you're more than welcome to join and benefit from all these great resources. We also want to be a platform to enable further development of people's personal and professional interests, studies, and understanding of Islamic psychology within their communities and countries of origin. So we're really an international movement. We have a lot of regional chapters and local chapters. So if you guys want to join ISIP, you can join our local chapters, our regional chapters, our international initiatives. We have chapters in Southern Africa. We have chapters in Turkey now, in the Arab world, in Indonesia, Malaysia, India, Pakistan, and the list goes on. So feel free to subscribe to ISIP's YouTube channel. You can also join the ISIP Psychology WhatsApp group. We will share the group link in the chat. And if you want to connect with us, I will share our email. And if you want to join, you can just write to us, or you can email us, or write in our WhatsApp groups as well. We're about to release our website. It's almost finished now. And if you want to become a member, you could also do it when we release our website and through the website, isip.foundation. There you can also get access to our digital library, which is free of charge for all of our members, with over 1,000 resources within the field of Islamic psychology. Inshallah. This is a certificate we want to give to you, Dr. Mustafa, for appreciation of your time and efforts and recognition of your continuing excellence in the field of Islamic psychology. So we will send this in as an email to you as well, inshallah. And we really appreciate that you're taking your time to really share your knowledge to us as your students, inshallah. Before I present Dr. Mustafa Merter, I just want to briefly let me do like this. Let me just introduce Dr. Mustafa. After that, I just briefly want to introduce Sister Zehra from Turkey. She's also one of our great colleagues doing an amazing job for the ISIP movement organization. And she's also very active in the field of Islamic psychology in the Turkish context. She will briefly tell all of you who are from Turkey about our local chapter that we are establishing in Turkey. As Dr. Mustafa is also from Turkey, we know a lot of Turkish people have registered to the course today. And we will start to have lectures in Turkish soon. And we're also planning to have halakas and book clubs and other things in Turkish as well. So after I present Dr. Mustafa, I'll briefly just give the microphone to Sister Zehra Kamadan from Turkey. So Dr. Mustafa Merter has a Ph.D. in psychiatry. His special interest and studies is in transpersonal psychology and Sufism and psychology. He's author of the popular book in Turkish, Nefs Psikolojisi. I don't speak Turkish, so please forgive me, doctor, for pronouncing wrong, but the psychology of the Nefs. And he is also the founder and president of the Turkish Transpersonal Psychology and Psychiatry National Association. And we're very honored to also have him as part of ISIP's advisory board. And it's truly an honor to have you with us, Ustad. So also in the end of the lecture, please, dear excellent brothers and sisters, don't forget to just take a couple of minutes and write a little bit about your feedback in the feedback form, inshallah. And please keep us in your du'as. And next session will be Saturday, the 29th of January at 12:30 p.m. GMT. We will have Dr. Khaled Jabir from Saudi Arabia speaking about and introducing the comprehensive psychological theory in Islamic psychology. He's one of the great scholars in the field of Islamic psychology in the Arab world, and we're very honored to host him, inshallah. So please save this date in your calendars, and we will also send more information in our groups, inshallah. So without any further ado, I just shared this dua. This is a beautiful dua, so feel free to recite it yourself. And we will stop sharing the screen now. And Sister Zehra, feel free to just 1 minute if you have time, just briefly tell a little bit more about ISIP's initiatives in Turkey, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Zehra Kamadan. I'm living in Istanbul. Inshallah, we will establish the ISIP chapter of Turkey soon. Our first event will be a lecture. We will make it with Halal Kaya Shahin. It will be 5th of February in Saturday, inshallah. We will be giving more information. If any people who want to join ISIP Turkey, we will be releasing the link of getting information from you, inshallah, during this session, inshallah. You can fill out it. We will be connect with you, inshallah. That's all about me. We are so excited and happy to establishing ISIP Turkey chapter. Our lectures will be Turkish, inshallah. Our aim is also connecting people who don't know English anymore and getting more information about Islamic psychology. As I said, we are so excited and we are waiting all of your reflections. So much.
Sister Zehra, it's an honor to have you with us. Sister Zehra is doing an amazing job. So Sister Zehra will be at your service. We will be at your service. If you have any question, we will share the link for registration for participating in ISIP Turkey's initiatives. And we also have a group where we will share all of our initiatives for Turkey. So feel free to join that WhatsApp group for Turkey as well. So we're very honored to actually establish ISIP in Turkey. Turkey is one of the leading countries in the field of Islamic psychology. And there is a lot of great resources in Turkish that we are looking forward to translate to English as well. Thank you, Sister Zehra, for taking your time. So Sister Zehra will share the Google form for all of you from Turkey who want to join the ISIP Turkish chapter, inshallah. Barakallahu fikum, sister. Thank you so much. Without any further ado, Dr. Mustafa Merter, Hojam, feel free to take over the microphone, please. And the floor is yours. And everybody feel free to give a digital applaud to Dr. Mustafa. Welcome, Dr. Mustafa. Dr. Mustafa, your microphone is muted. If you could just unmute your microphone.
Here now?
Yes, we hear you. Barakallahu fikum.
Yes. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear sisters and brothers, just a scenery from the place where I live in Turkey. This is southern Turkey. And the islands you see at the far, these are the Greek islands. We are at the nose of Turkey with Greece at the seaside, and the place is called Bodrum. So nice regards from Bodrum to all of you. No problem with transmission?
The transmission is perfect, Dr. Mustafa.
Okay, okay. Well, yes, the crazy idea. Where does it come? This crazy idea, where there are about more than 500 psychological schools and approaches in psychology to make a work about Nefs Psychology and Nefs Psychotherapy. Such a crazy idea. Why do we need a new psychological approach? I'm trying to explain you. I'll try with my personal life experiences. Then it could be more accessible to you how this search started. I had a difficult life. Sometimes I say, Allah Ta'ala has placed me in the middle of 4 circles. The first circle is depression. The second circle is anxiety. The third circle is obsession. And the fourth circle is neurosis. And in the middle of the 4 circles, my life. So I had a very difficult childhood and youth. I had a lot of psychological problems, and I never thought to be a psychiatrist. But then it happened that with my then my fiancée, we traveled to Turkey. I am married from Switzerland. I spent about 25 years in Switzerland. I studied there, secondary school, university, and I became a psychiatrist in Switzerland. We traveled to Turkey, and I had a very strong neurosis. And this neurosis, you know the definition, a simple definition of neurosis is to be in fight in 4 dimensions, 4 areas. You are in fight with other people, you are in fight with yourself, you are in fight with your environment, and you are in fight with God. Neurosis is very, when the neurosis is very intense, it hurts a lot. So I went to a couple of psychiatrists, search for help, but each time I went to a psychiatrist, something was not enough, something was not, I couldn't continue. Then one day in Ankara, I don't know how, from where I heard, I went to my then last psychiatrist, the late Engin Geçtan. The Turkish people here probably heard of him. He's one of the great psychotherapists. He's from the American New Psychoanalytical School, Karen Harney and all these from the schools. My first encounter with him was very impressive. I had a feeling of being accepted wholly. Before, I was hesitating about to share my problems, my complexes, but in front of Engin Geçtan, I had another feeling. So we started therapy sessions in Ankara. Then he accepted me in his group therapy, and so on. I experienced that my neurosis was melting down. I had access again to people, especially I was in fight with women. My fight with women was less, and then I finished my military duty in Ankara, and I wanted to return to Europe. And Professor Geçtan just said to me, don't you think make psychiatry? I said, me, with all my pathology, psychiatry, this is not possible. We laughed together. Then I went to Germany. I did some internal medicine. I wanted to become a cardiologist. And then we returned to Switzerland. But in Switzerland, I couldn't get an internship in cardiology. So I was pushed to psychiatry. They say you can psychiatry, you can have a place in the hospital. And then started for me the touch with psychiatry. And I tried in my therapies to be like my analyst, like my therapist, the same way to approach people. The same empathy. I studied Carl Rogers and his empathic approach. Then I noticed something very strange in my therapies. Being in touch with a human being has incredible dimensions. The time becomes relative. You see things, you have states of feelings. At that time, I didn't know about the states, about the hal that we know now in Tasawwuf, in Sufi psychology. But I felt very strange. So there was a psychiatric friend in the hospital. I asked him, what's happening to me? I have gotten such strange feelings in my therapies. He said, oh man, he was an American ex-hippie. He told me, well, it's time for you to make meditation. At that time, I was, my new internship was at the Burkhardt University Hospital. This is the hospital, the famous hospital of Carl Gustav Jung. I was their intern, and I tried to find Sufis in Zurich. I couldn't find. I've heard about a Nur Hanım, but I couldn't reach this Nur Hanım. I couldn't find her. So I started making meditation about. I hear something.
Sorry, doctor, it was somebody who joined the lecture and just forgot to mute himself. Okay. I muted him now. Please.
Okay. So a period of meditation started for me for a long time. And then one day, as we returned again to Turkey, I tried to have contact with Sufism, with Tasawwuf. But I was not very sure about my new orientation, and a dream happened. From this meditation center that I was in connection with, they have sent a young monk to Turkey to have me again in their organization, because I had some distance to them. He had a dream. This is a very important dream. In my life, dreams play a very important role. He was at our tangerine garden in Bodrum, and he was walking in the tangerine garden in his dream. Then he engaged himself in a kind of tunnel underground, and he reached an iron door. He reached this iron door, but he couldn't go to the other side. He couldn't go to the other side because the door was locked. He looked through the keyhole. This is exactly what he said. I saw a bright, a very beautiful light that I have never seen before in my life. Of course, you guess he saw Nur. And I understood that because he couldn't open the door, that the way of meditation, this kind of search, was a wrong way. And I engaged myself in Sufi direction. Two things we have in psychology, two paradoxes, two great paradoxes. One of these paradoxes is, it's very strange and very weird. If I ask someone to ask, can you give me an explanation about psyche? Very few people can give an explanation of a psyche, what it is. We practice a profession, we don't even know what psyche is, because the founders of the psyche, Carl Gustav Jung, Sigmund Freud, they don't know what psyche is. So this is the first paradox. I said, may we explain nefs better than we can explain psyche. So I started to interest myself in the nefs. This is the first paradox. The second paradox is we are an army of psychologists, of psychiatrists, and human psychology goes worse and worse in the last 200 years. Although the publications, although the psychological schools, we have an incredible deterioration of human psyche. So this is the second paradox. So I started for a new model of psychology. My first approach was through consciousness studies. I tried actually to make a connection with Western psychology and Sufism, a connection. And the common connection theme, what could it be? Consciousness studies. So from the consciousness studies, my first book, the 900 katlı insan, you could translate it into English, human being with 900 existential levels, you could translate. I published my first book. In this first book, they were my personal experiences, but also a theory of the beginnings of what the nefs is, making a comparison with Western psychology. The more I studied Sufi psychology, I was inspired through Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi, the 13th century Islamic Sufi scholar, Muhyiddin Ibn Arabi, a lot of Fusus al-Hikam, Futuhat al-Mekkiyah, Masnavi Sharif. And I tried to establish what Western psychology lacks, a structural and dynamic model of nefs. This is very important. The structural approach has finished in Western psychology with Freud. It's tragic. Freud's structural approach describes psyche as an iceberg. I mean, it's really tragic human blindness, or whatever you call it. Jung makes another approach. He compares the human psyche to a sphere with a central self, what he calls. He has a more descriptive approach. And then, with only one exception, the structural model in Western psychology ends. If you have no structural model, you can have also no dynamic model. This is very important to have a structural model. So if they ask you, let's say you study Nefs Psychology, and they ask you, they say, Okay, do you have a structural model for Nefs? You should answer yes. You should explain them what the structure is and what the rules in the structures, the laws in the structures, in the structure are. So with this approach, I published my second book. The second book is called Nefs Psychology. Again, here we realized comparison with Western psychology, but then we approached more some themes that are not present in Western psychology. For example, the multi-level structure of the Nefs. This is something not known, but the multi-level structure of the Nefs, it's a revolution in psychology. Everything what we say about the structure of the Nefs, about anything about in our Nefs psychology, we have to say from ayahs of Quranic. If they ask you, okay, you speak about multi-level Nefs, which ayah? Estağfirullah. وَالتِّينِ وَالزَّيْتُونِ وَتُورِ سِينِينَ وَهَذَا الْبَلَدِ الْأَمِينَ لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ أَسْفَلَ سَافِلِينَ. Then we have descended. What did we understand? We have been created in best modus, أحسن تقويم. ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ. Then we have been descended to lower. We understand that there is a low, there is an up and a low. So what is the ahseni takvim creation? It should be more interesting if we could do it interactionally. But what did in the ayah, in the surah, fig 10, ahseni takvim creation. Ahseni takvim creation is the special position of human being in the creational order. This is, first of all, we are honored with the names of God. Names of God you could understand as codes of creation. Asma al-Husna. Asma al-Husna, you can, the number of the Asma al-Husna in the Hadith Sharif is said 99 is mentioned, but in reality, the number of codes, they are infinite. So Rabbul Alameen gave us infinite codes as a potential. We have in our potential, human creational potential, whatever what we are. We have faith, we have no faith, doesn't make any difference. As potential, every human being has this creational potential, first. The second creational honor is we have been, we have been honored with the spirit of our Lord, of Rabbul Alameen. What does that mean? That means that we are not beings from this universe, from these four dimensions. We have in us a potential, what makes us no gods, of course, no gods, but we carry the spirit of God. Every human being, not only be Muslims, people with belief, every human being is sacred. So, third potential we have is Khalifatullah. Rabbul Alameen has decided to make out of us his vicegerents in the world, in this existence. And the fourth honor we have, I wish that this talk were interactional because then we could find it together. Fourth honor is, what could it be the fourth honor? Just think about it. In a Hadith Sharif, sallallahu alayhi wasallam says that first thing God created was my nur. Everything has been created from Muhammadi Nur. That means that all humanity, we are part of the great Muhammadan family. Every humanity. Imagine Ahseni Takvim, we are working about Ahseni Takvim. If we consider this Ahseni Takvim creation, how would, with which respect we approach other human beings? So this Ahseni Takvim being descended, Sümme radednahu esfele safirin, in a lower world, and life starts in this lower world. The lower world, Nefsi Ammare. If you imagine take an example of a building, the Nefs, building with endless floors, but the first floor, life starts, is Nefsi Ammare. Every human being starts his life at the Nefsi Ammare. But lower than Nefsi Ammare, we have our inner Asfele Safilin, the lower parts of the Asfele Safilin, which we shouldn't fall down. This is very important. So, the Islam we practice with minimal rituals gives us the guarantee to be stabilized at the first level. We are stabilized at the Nefsi Ammare. We don't fall more in the deep, but we also don't progress with minimal Islam to upper parts of the Nefs. The second ayah, surah that inspired me a lot is the surah Beled, city, where we see, I recite in English, I swear by this city, فَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِهَذَا الْبَلَدِ أَنْتَ هِلٌّ بِهَذَا الْبَلَدِ. Hill, one of the meanings of hill is you have descended. Beled, we can understand here as the first existential level of Nefsi Ammare. أَنْتَ هِلٌّ بِهَذَا الْبَلَدِ وَوَالِدٍ وَلَا مَوْلَدٍ لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي كَبَدٍ. Certainly we have created man to be in distress. You know what this distress is in this Surah Beled? This distress is existential anxiety that the Western philosophers try to understand and to get freed from it. When Søren Kierkegaard says, I couldn't make the existential leap. Søren Kierkegaard is a Danish philosopher. He is one of the fathers of the existential psychotherapy, existential school. His life is a tragic life. So he says exactly, I couldn't make this existential leap. What kind of leap? He doesn't know that he leaves. His existence is in a multi-level build. Does he think that no one has power over him? Does he think that no one sees him? young is called Akabe. Vema edrake mel Akabe. To understand Akabe is very, very important in this structure. When we descend to the first existential level, Nefs Emmare, if we stay there, we have an existential anxiety, a constriction. We are obliged to ascend again, exactly as described in the surah. And what will make you comprehend what the uphill road is? And then it goes on. The setting free of a slave, or the giving of food in a day of hunger to an orphan having relationship, or to poor man lying in the dust. The main problem of Western psychology that we don't understand to have a long-lasting psychological health, we have to give, infaq and isar should be part of our existential style. Two things the Western psychology doesn't understand. One of these things is the ahlak-ı hamidiyye. Ahlak-ı hamidiyye is the morals, is the ahlak-ı hamidiyye, the morals of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Sahabi morals. So we don't understand that without morals, without ethics, there is no freedom in the structure. There is no ascension in the structure. The second thing that the Western psychology doesn't know, without really giving, offering, changing its lifestyle, there could be no psychological health. In the ayah, وَالَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ فِي السَّرَّاءِ وَالضَّرَّاءِ وَكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظَ وَعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ. There are many, many ayahs we are encouraged to give. And giving is not as giving a sadaqah giving, real and as an existential style giving. In another ayah, it's mentioned, it's said, وَاللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ سِرًّا وَعَلَانِيَةً فَلَهُمْ أَجْرُهُمْ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ وَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. Secretly and openly, night and day, you should give. So, Nefs psychology has been represented in Europe for the first time, has been represented in Holland, and a friend of mine has founded there under the name of Nefs Psychology 3 centers, and these centers work together with welfare organizations. There can be no long-lasting psychological health without action, brothers and sisters, without infaq and without isar. It's very good to know about theory. Psychotherapy, I make also psychotherapy, group therapy. Sometimes I describe medication. But without this fourth component, without this really giving, offering, there can be no psychological health. Psychology can be learned through 3 ways. One is Ilm Al-Yaqin. This is the theory I have been working 30 years now. Theory I am working. This is Ilm Al-Yaqin. Getting closer through knowledge. The second very important component, this is very important, you should all notice this. Ayn al-Yaqin. You should consider on yourself the theory. Men arafe nefsehu fakat arafe rabbehu. If you know your nefs, you can know your creator, your Rabb. And this approach we give in the psychotherapy is psychotherapy and dream analysis approach. But to make this dream analysis, again, we need theory, brothers and sisters. We should know where we live. I mean, structural model of the nefs. And also have the dynamics, as I've explained to you through the surah of the city. The dynamics there is ascension is an absolute necessity. Stagnation, nefs structure doesn't accept stagnation. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, who has the same, he repeats the same thing, he is in loss. So what I consider in different Islamic organizations as yours, this inner knowledge, this self-knowledge is, for the moment being, I don't know exactly what you follow as therapies, but general impression I have, this inner voyage, Ayn al-Yaqeen, lacks. A lot of people, I consider, they walk around with personas. You know what persona is? This is a Jungian term. Persona is the role we play. For the moment, before you, I am playing the role as a psychiatrist. But I am not a psychiatrist, only a psychiatrist. I am a human being. So the best way to get rid of the personas, the fake personalities, is group therapy. Ilm Al-Yaqeen, knowing structure and dynamism of the nefs. Ayn al-Yaqeen, seeing this on you through personal psychotherapy. And then comes Haqq al-Yaqeen. Haqq al-Yaqeen, we give 4 years of learn analysis for people. After an initial discussion, we start a learn analysis. It lasts 4 years through psychotherapy, personal psychotherapy, group therapy, and after the second year, under supervision, these people make psychotherapy. So the third component is to make real psychotherapy. I mean, Haqq al-Yaqeen. This is absolutely important. Without knowing our nefs, without what is going on in us, it is not possible to have a long-lasting benefits of a school, especially in a world where there are a lot of other schools. We should be different than the other schools. Yes, this is what I was going to tell you. How much time do you have, Jamaluddin? More?
Hojam, you have at least 15 minutes more if you want, or more than that. We have 15 minutes, mashallah.
So I can, one of the very important components of this nefs structure is the hal, what we call hal in our terminology, Sufi terminology. Hal is, in Western psychology, has been, as far as I know, the best understood by Charles Sturt. I'll present you some books. Charles Sturt. It's a book published in the late 70s. I think you saw the book. States of Consciousness of Charles Sturt is an excellent book to understand what we talk about, the hals, şükür, sabır, awe, compassion, merhamet, these are all special hals. And Charles Start understood this book is very important, because if they ask us from our point of view what these little, let's say, consciousness differences are, we should give also examples from the Western psychology. And Charles Start is one of these sources. How important to understand these consciousness. By the way, Charles Start calls these consciousness variations discrete altered states of consciousness. He gives a special name for this, discrete altered states of consciousness. And a transpersonal psychologist, Ken Wilber, in this book, this is also a useful book, says, biological and medical scientists are in the midst of intensive work on the Human Genome Project. The Human Consciousness Project, an endeavor well underway to map the entire spectrum of various states of human consciousness. But this hal, these consciousness states, like awe, like compassion, like muhabba, all these states are, this is very important to understand, they are not kasbi. Kasbi means not through my efforts I can have these states of mind. These states of mind are vehbi, given by our by Allah. If have a good manner, if I follow his prescriptions, we have these states of minds. And these states of minds, they are very important. They are very important for our pathology. For example, one of your students or one of your patients has a depression, and you try to motivate this person to make some good work, maybe to go somewhere in Africa or anywhere, some good work. After a while, in his dreams, he can have states, these states like surur. Surur is joy, but long-lasting joy, existential joy. Or sekine. Sekine is the calmness, but long-lasting calmness. Or reja. Reja is hope. We call this basic existential hope. Or itminan. What is itminan? Basic existential trust. All these states are accorded to us if we follow the divine prescriptions, you know, through where? Through where they are accorded? From our spiritual heart. The center of Nefs Psychology we are working on, the very, very, very center. We are amazed when we work. This is the spiritual heart. This Western psychology doesn't know the spiritual heart. How important it is. It's not my, I am very sorry because of my poor Arab. I am working on a tawil now about 7 years, psychological tawil. from Ishari Tawil, I make psychological explanations for this. It's not I cannot make a Tawil. This is a very, very hard thing. But there are existing Tawils like Abdul Razak Kashani. This structure I tried to explain you of the Nefs is very good explained. And in this Tawil, all these spiritual details of this spiritual heart are explained. Another book, it's like a treasure, but I don't know if this book exists in English, is from Ibn Arabi, Tadbiratul Ilahiyya. You know what in Tadbiratul Ilahiyya Ibn Arabi makes? He explains the psyche as a country with a king, with different towns. You know, there is such a deep knowledge in Islamic Sufi tradition. As an American friend of mine told me, we have the world's richest literature is the Sufi literature, in Turkish, in Urdu, in Arabic, in Persian. And through these sources, little by little, we understand the spiritual heart. For example, at the basis of the brain, we have nodes. We call them pleasure center, like nucleus caudata, putamen, etc. And there is a secretion of some amino acids, like dopamine, serotonin, etc. And this gives us a pleasure. You know, if you eat something, you like it, you have a dopamine secretion. But there is another essential center in human beings. This is spiritual heart. There is probably dopamine is not anymore effective there. But you know what their effective is? Nuramin. I know there is no amino acid called nuramin. I'm just making joke. But something happening at our spiritual heart, and it heals us better in our pathology. Our information processing center generally we think is our brain. Now we learn from these books is our main information processing center is the spiritual heart. Because only the information that I have processed in my mind gets together with divine information. This is called tawfiq in Sufi terminology. If divine information gets together with my own conclusions, you know what this is? Probably you all know the name, but hikmeh, marifet, and all these things I tell you are in these books. Masnavi Sharif, in Futuhat al-Makkiyah. And so we are trying to put like a puzzle, put the different parts together and to make this nefs, this structure, this wonderful structure, this multi-level structure, little by little accessible to everyone, as in the measure of our possibilities. So this is the work we are making in the last 30 years. I am now old. I'm 75 years old. I need your prayers for 1 more year life, because in 1 year, inshallah, my Tawil, psychological interpretation of the Tawil will be finished. And then we have For psychology, for the first time, you will have a proven psychology. Psychology with dalil, not speculative psychology. The main problem of Western psychology is its speculative nature. A lot of speculation, some right things about a lot of wrong things. If you are interested how this speculative psychology came to existence, a book I can recommend you is the Discovery of Unconscious. It's a huge book, very important book, written by Henry Ellenberger. It gives an impression about the birth of Western psychology. Western psychology is the result of a fight against Rabbul Alamin. During Enlightenment period, after Europe has lost all its hope to be in religion, the human, the intellectuals during this Enlightenment period had only one source to trust, their intellect. And all the misery we see now, all the ecological disaster, etc., is the result of this science without connection to our beloved Rabbul Alamin. Now, a Nefs psychology may give a new approach, also for our Christian brothers, also for other people, to understand the human being. What can give us the practical consequences of Nefs psychology could be, first of all, we discover the hope again. We are not thrown in an absurd world and condemned to suffer miserably during our ephemeral worldly existence. Heidegger says Weltgeworfenheit in German. Weltgeworfenheit, someone thrown to the world. This is what the tragedy of Western philosophical and psychological approach. There is a hope, a real hope, and leaving this prison and ascent towards meaningful, joyful, existential levels where we experience a sense of freedom never felt before. This is the structure. This is all you know when you go to Umrah, when you make your prayers, when Rabbul Alamin opens the door of your heart, you have all these feelings. The second consequence of Nefs psychology, that all our comprehension of psychological pathology has new fundaments. The human misery of anxiety, sadness, guilt, shame can be transcendent because all this misery can be seen, witnessed, mushahada, from a higher level and become relative. This is the main advantage of seeing the existence from an upper level. This is exactly what Søren Kierkegaard meant by existential leap in his remarkable essays. Third consequence is, if we understand this topography and dynamism of Nefs structure, we also understand the necessity of ethics and good behavior, not only for eschatological reasons, hope of future paradise and fear of hell. Should we respect God Almighty's ethical principles, our worldly happiness depends also from these principles. Having good morals, good ethics makes us happy, especially when we explain to adolescents the necessity of good manner. They have much interest in it. The fourth consequence is the development of a more effective preventive psychology. Actually, because of our ignorance of Nefs dynamics, we have no preventive measures to stop the deterioration of psychohygienics and psychopathology, narcissism, hedonism, all sorts of dependency, also virtual dependency, chaotic polymorph sexuality, exhibitionism, prodigality, gambling. Let us fall sooner or later in deeper levels of our dark existence. We should explain pragmatically to young people morals, ethics. It has direct consequences. Fifth consequence is a hope for the emerging of a more responsible behavior in regard to the ecological disaster. As the following ayah you all know heralds, there is still a hope. Since they have become oblivious of God, corruption has appeared on land and in the sea as an outcome of what man's hands have wrought. And so he will let them taste the evil of some of their doings so that they might return. Rabbil Alamin says, you might return if you know our nefs, if you know the structure, if you know our creational principles. Also, we will be less destructive. I mean, it's in an ecological sense, I mean. So there are a lot of prospects, there are a lot of hope in this new psychology, but there is an immense work to do. We are working now for a curriculum. Probably one of the questions will be they will ask how we can learn this. About 30 people had these learn analyzes in the last 10 to 20 years with me. The learn analysis last about 4 years. And now we'll work on a curriculum. Inshallah, we present you this curriculum, and all together we will go to a better world. We need this. What also is very important at the end, we have to have this ijma'i ummah. The Muslims should be together again. Ijma'i ummah is the only hope against the threats, against the danger in which we live. And this work of you, Jamaluddin and your friends, is a very important step to ijma'i ummah. I'm with my modest presence, I'll be inshallah with you. I thank you very much.
Jazakallah khairan, Hojjam, mashallah. Please, everybody, give round of applause to dear Hojjam, Dr. Mustafa.
With my broken English, I never learned English at the school.
Mashallah, your English is amazing.
French and German. My English is self-made English, so excuse me, my broken English.
The self-made is the most beautiful, Hojjam, mashallah. Your English is terrific, mashallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant you tawfiq in your work and your tahweel that you're doing. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also, after the pandemic, unite us in real life, where we can have lectures with you in Turkey, inshallah. That will be such an honor. And as you say, ijma al-ummah, to you be uniting ummah, is something that we're all trying to do now. And we're very honored to be part of this movement where we're uniting together with you and all excellent scholars within the field of Islamic psychology. So we're very honored to be with you. Thank you so much. A lot of people are very excited about your lecture. We had over 100 people participating in Hojjam, so it's been amazing. A lot of questions. So let's start with the Q&As. I'll try to ask as many as possible. Hojjam, also being mindful of your time. Please tell us when you have your prayer time, and maybe we can take a short break if you need to go to prayer. I don't know exactly when the salah times are in Turkey. So
at the moment,
there are a couple of...
At your disposition for the moment.
Jazakallah khairan. We're so honored to be your student, Dr. MashaAllah. So thank you so much for once more. So the Sister Sarah, she wants to ask you, Hojam, please could you type the name of the therapist Dr. Martin is speaking about? Which therapist? You mentioned a therapist.
Yes. He's now, he passed away, Engin Geçtan.
Could you write it in the Zoom chat, Hojam, the name?
Okay, I'll write Zoom chat. How do you have access to it?
I can write it, inshallah. But my Turkish is not that good. Is it what did you say? Erjam?
Wait. I'm right on paper.
Sister Fatima Karakaya has written it in the chat. So barakallahu fikum hocam. They have written it. Engin Gentan. Okay.
Okay. So Engin Geçtan.
Barakallahu fikum. Perfect. Barakallahu fikum. Thank you. Barakallahu fikum. So the next question is from Brother Adil from Kashmir. He is one of our great colleagues and members in ISIP, mashallah. Brother Adil, thank you. So Brother Adil is asking, and you know the situation in Kashmir, Hojam, is very difficult. So he's asking.
I have been in Kashmir. I know Kashmir. I know the situation. I am very sad. I pray for them, but it's very sad. I know.
Yeah, mashallah. Yeah, inshallah. Inshallah, we'll all make dua for our brothers and sisters there. So he's asking, Hojam, from secular perspective to Islamic perspective, how do we combine the notion of suicide is haram, but it is also the result of extreme severe depression? Because we lose so many people every day to unresolved pain that overwhelms their consciousness. More than 800,000 people suicide each year worldwide, around one person every 40 seconds. In Kashmir, suicide rate is on a constant rise. So this is his question, Hojam.
Very deep question. But let's approach everything through ayahs of Quran Kareem and from hadith of Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. One hadith says, die before you die. What does it mean, die before you die? If someone comes to me in psychotherapy and says, I can't stand this life anymore, I won't leave. I think I am better, I kill myself. I don't say, of course, you should kill yourself. I say, you're completely right. This life of yours, this style of life, this personality, anything what he doesn't like, should be gone. Die before die means lose this personality, lose these negative aspects of your Nefs Amare. Because the people, they want to get rid of these of their anger, of their envy, of their anxiety. But if these negative aspects of us are gone, are dead, there is a new birth. And you see everything from an upper level. So, especially in dream work by people with deep depression and hopelessness, etc. In dreams, we have death dreams. Someone sees himself as dead or in a death bed or anything symbolically similar thing. That means, okay, this is the bad part of you has gone, but you live. You are still in life. So psychotherapy helps a lot. But the problem is also from another point of view, also very difficult because in a deep depression, in a major depression, a deep depression, where people have lost all their hope after a lot of medicine and psychotherapy, the accompanying people could be hard. But there again, this is so important. If it was possible to us, to therapists, to motivate these people to do some good things, whatever in his next environment is. Because depression, anxiety, all these human sufferings, they are very narcissistic problems. My depression, my anxiety, but if you forget yourself and do something positive for someone else, if it's possible, then probably you will change your mind. This, our friend in Holland, who has established 3 groups in Holland, there was a therapy-resistant young lady. And they did everything for her therapy. She was hopeless and suicide ideas and everything. You know where she is now? She's in Zanzibar, working in an orphanage. And there is an incredible change of her pathology. So this is a new dimension. I am not talking to this like an ignorant person. I have worked a lot with depressive people, with suicidal people. I worked a lot. But this, what I've told you, is a very effective way to get out of depression, out of these suicidal ideas.
Jazakallah khairan, Hojam. Great nasiha. And this is a very important topic. And inshallah, dear brothers and sisters, we will have a specific lecture focusing on this. I know my brother Murat from Russia also wrote to me now regarding that. I think this is a very important topic. Every time at Hojam we have a lecture, a lot of our colleagues and brothers and sisters are asking. So inshallah, we will listen to you more frequently regarding this as well, inshallah. Barakallahu feekum for your thorough question. There are a lot of questions, Hojam, regarding translations of your work. I know you mentioned to me in our previous meeting that one of your book is it's due to be translated soon, right? One of your books, if I'm not mistaken.
Both books are translated into English, both books, but
Mashallah.
The final original work has not been done.
Okay.
The book doesn't belong to me. I can give to anyone who wants. I can send the PDF of the book, but they are not there are some in the book. There are some diagrams to explain, like diagrams like this, and the diagrams are in the edition. They are not present. Also in the translation, a lot of diagrams. If they accept the raw translation, I can send it to people, no problem.
MashaAllah. So if you can send it also to us, Hojam, we will send it in all of our groups to all of our brothers and sisters, inshallah, so you can benefit. So inshallah, with permission of Hojam, we will send it to you. Barakallahu feekum, Hojam. This is amazing. Sister Sajida from UK, mashallah, welcome Sister Sajida, always an honor to have you with us. She is writing, I have found Dr. Abdullah Ratma's model useful in looking at the dynamics of nefs as he looks at the factors of moving through the 3 states of nefs. Could you ask if there's more than 3 nefs, please? So her question is, Hojam, is there more than 3 nefs?
No. The approach is nefs. They are not numbers of nefs. Nefs is a structure of multi-level structure. Maybe I can show you a diagram I have. This is a multi-level structure which starts nefsi amare, nefsi levame, mulhime, mutmaine. These are the levels, the major levels, which are called maqam. They are mentioned in the Holy Quran. But there are a lot of intermediary stations. This is the reason why Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi says, "Oh, you human being, you are 900 floors building." He says 900 is just a symbolical number here. The nefs has innumerable, infinite numbers of potential of ascension. Now, if I say something like this, you should ask me, how can you affirm such a thing from the Islamic sources? Each time when I say something, you should take me in proof and say, how can you say such a thing? Sallallahu alayhi wasallam every day makes 70 times Astaghfirullah Azim. And he says, not because of his sins, because as we know, he has no sins. Each time when he says Astaghfirullah Azim, he goes a level higher. This is our previous day. He's lost. So human potential of development, in Tasawwuf we call this tekamül, terakki, is endless. And nefs is in this endless structure going up or down. If we don't respect the divine prescriptions, we lose hate. And how to say, oh, I feel bad. I have a stone on my heart. My life became, the world became dark. In Turkish, you say, içim karardı. Inside me, there is a blackness. So in every day, we have ascensions and descents. This is the nefs structure. So we should understand nefs structure. If you go from the Quranic Karim, there are 6 levels mentioned. Levame, Mülkime, Mutmainne, Raziye, you know, but they are the main makams. We should not make a mistake between makam and hal. This is hal are the steps different between different makams. So there is not 3 nefs. There is 1 nefs, but this nefs has a multi-level structure. Some authors say hayvani nefs, nefsi hayvani, nefsi nebati, nefsi jamadi. They say structural. This is, you see how you have this in Ghazali or in others. But this approach is not enough, you know. Is there an answer?
It was a great answer. And I think the whole discussion, Hojam, regarding maqam and hal and the differences between hal and maqam is very interesting because you explained it very good. Hal is more like infirm and maqam is when it becomes firm, you know. So it's a lot about spiritual practices through taskiyat and riyadat, I suppose, in order to gain something to be a station or a maqam or in your attitudes or in your adab. So yeah, it's interesting.
Example for hal in Hadith Sharif, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, Din is hayrat. Din is wonder, amazement. Religion is amazement. I see you somewhere. Jamaluddin, my brother, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Yes.
Amazement. This is hal.
Yeah, exactly.
This is given. I'm not making it fake. Oh, Jamaluddin. You see, hal is this.
It's the essence. Yeah, I get it. Yeah,
essence. Yeah, hal is the essence.
Yeah, hal is the essence. MashaAllah. Barakallah fikum, Hojam. Thank you so much. And there is so many questions, Hojam. How much time do you have, Hojam? We have a lot of questions.
I am at your disposition. No problem. As you want, as long as you want.
All right, thank you. So we'll take a couple of more questions. And you know, the engagement is very active. So alhamdulillah, thank you, brothers and sisters, for your great questions. So next question is, let me see here. So we go to Sister Fatma Karakaya, which is, actually I should call her Ustada. She's mashallah so knowledgeable. So Ustada Fatma from Turkey, maybe you know her, doctor. She's saying, Hojam, would you kindly give us examples from your psychotherapy practice? How can we take your theory and apply it clinically?
This is exactly the learn analysis what we call. Psychotherapy is a very, very, very serious thing. Because if someone has a certificate from you, you have an engagement responsibility. So we first make, if someone has an intention to study Nefs Psychology, we first have a talk, and an intention letter, a curriculum, we ask life story, and then we make with a friend, two or three Nefs psychologists, we make an encounter with her and ask her about their intentions. Why does she want to learn this? And then, if she accepts, we ask her, we give her 6 months time to prepare herself about the theory. The Ayn al-Yaqin, the Ilm al-Yaqin should be done before. And then we make a third encounter and a small examination about Nefs structure. What is spiritual heart? What are the states? What is the multi-level state of Nefs? Why should we ascend on the structure? Things I try to explain you. If she goes through this examination, we realize 12 hours of learn therapy, previous learn therapy. That means weekly sessions, both sides, they try to know themselves mutually to know if they can go for a further, longer togetherness. And after these 12 sessions, if two parts, they say, okay, we'll do this, the learn analysis starts. It lasts 3 to 4 years. Lectures and dream analysis. We are now start again with group therapy. So it goes for 4 years. After the second year, psychotherapy under supervision starts. And after the fourth year, earlier, the analysis ends, we give an attestation, and the person becomes a Nefs therapist.
MashaAllah, sounds amazing. So if you don't mind, Hojam, if you can send me the information, if people are interested to join your program, if you can send me like how they can, register or come in touch, we will be happy to share it to all of our members, inshallah. So I'll get that information from you afterwards, Hojam. So if you're interested, dear brothers and sisters, we will offer those information either through our website, isip.foundation, or through the WhatsApp groups we have, inshallah. Barakallahu feekum. It sounds very interesting, mashallah. Let's see here. So Sister Sajida is asking another question. She's asking, is this state a reflection of state of our heart, which Imam Ghazali covers? I think is referring to the different states and maqams we're speaking. Is this the same as the states of the heart that Imam Ghazali is mentioning in the Ihya Ulumuddin?
I have to read the passage and then I can give the answer. I don't have the passage for me, but I have to read exactly what there is meant in this passage. Because the Sufis, they have different terminology and different approaches to say the same thing. It's one of the particularities of Sufi wisdom. The same thing can be said in many other ways. So I have to read the passage and then I can say it.
Barakallahu feekum, Hojam. Thank you so much. We're looking forward to, after you read, to gain knowledge from your reflections, inshallah. We have Sister Vildana. MashaAllah, Sister Vildana is one of our colleagues from Bosnia. And we're also actually about to establish ISIP's Eastern European chapter, which includes Bosnia and Albania, many other countries. She's asking Hojam, mashallah, beautiful lecture. My question is it possible to know your original self, your nafs, only through ibadah, dhikr, and tawakkul, or do we need more thorough psychological knowledge?
The first thing, when you start this journey, is to forget about you. You shouldn't aim to your because it's right. The Hadith Sharif says, "Men arafa nefsehu fakat arafa rabbehu," but this is not meant in this sense that I know the whole structure. I know I know my hals, what I am at the moment experiencing. I know my hals. For example, it is very unrecommended to know on which maqam you are. This is very, very dangerous. So people, we ask, they should forget about where they are, the maqam, but the hals in which we are now, of course, are very important. The amazing source of knowledge in Nefs psychology is through dream analysis. We believe we have no doubt about it. Someone in us makes the therapy. What do? We have the mirror, and the person looks at the mirror, in the therapy mirror, but the therapy is done. For example, one of the main faults of the therapist is to touch a very hurting material. Let's say someone has a father neurosis, and you feel with your therapeutical experience and that there is a father neurosis. In my former days, I insinuated, I said, yes, I think you have some problem with your father, and I made such pseudo-intelligent explanations. No, I have learned now that I have to wait until the dream brings the father theme. So all this knowing is like a someone, like a director of an orchestra is directing a symphony. And this symphony, we are assisting to a symphony. I never know what will happen the next session, but we are sometimes surprised with. So knowing yourself in this approach is not the classical knowing yourself, something else. But then this can be understandable if the person makes this inner voyage. Otherwise, it's very abstract to understand such an approach. Something is happening, and we are both, my patient and me, we are seeing what's happening on a scenery. Okay, that's all what I can say.
Jazakallah khair, Hojam. Thank you for a thorough reflection and answer. We really appreciate it. So Sister Fatima Khurram is asking, how can we talk about these realities to someone who we interact with clinically or otherwise, who is averse to the spiritual dimension because of trauma, but is suffering from existential pain and is aware that their problem is existential?
Again, I've told you about a lot of theory and about of Nefs structure, dynamics, and etc. But we forget all this in therapeutical situation. In the therapeutical situation, we have the togetherness, as I have explained you at the beginning with my therapist I had, this unconditional accepting, this kind of empathetic approach we have. No theories. We don't talk about the theories. This is our, they call it in the Western psychology, encounter psychology. Encounter. Encounter is two human beings being together with an intention. For example, we pray the night before for our patient. We always are with wudu. We go into therapy. We make prayers before, you know, not for the person, but before. And then there is an encounter, a deep encounter is that realized. This helps a lot. If you even don't say much things, this kind of, you should look at the videos of Carl Rogers. Carl Rogers doesn't talk much. He only listens. There is a deep understanding, a deep love understanding. This is the first, our first approach at the trauma or any psychological problem. Then the dreams start. And through dreams, we have information. And the dreams very cautiously change the person. But then again, you should experience this, how dreams change, can change you. You should experience this.
Jazakallah khairan, Hojam. Thank you so much for your question, for your answer to the question. So there are a lot of reflections. People want to listen to more lectures with you, Professor Merter, so we hope that we can organize soon. Some brothers and sisters want to hear more about psychopathology from Islamic perspective, for instance. Brother Zahid is asking, what is consciousness and what is the mind? This is his question. What is consciousness and what is the mind?
Yes, mind is, as I've told you, mind is a place where information comes in, and this information is compared with the further programmed information. This is called qiyasat aqliya in our terminology. The intellect compares with earlier information and has a result. This is the function of the mind. The mind we compare like a labyrinth. In a labyrinth, if you stay only in the mind, you could be very intelligent. You could be one of the most, I don't know, famous people. In the mind, after a while, you are lost. I know an American Orientalist who knows more than 3,000 Hadith Sharif by heart. But he has no faith. He's not been honored with Islam. 3,000 Hadith Sharif by heart, he knows, but no Hidayah. What is this? So, Rabbil Alameen, to this information processing center, mind, has a connection with the spiritual heart. And through a spiritual heart, there is a flow of information, which is called varidat, ilhamat, tuluat. There is a steady flow of information. But this information, if the heart gate is closed, gets lost. I have counted 165, about 165 ayahs about the spiritual heart in the Quranic Karim. Don't trust it, don't close it, the message we receive constantly, take care of your spiritual heart. This is your existential center. So there comes this information from there. And if you have realized the conditions to have this information, this is ahlak-ı hamidiyye, ethics, moral, and also, as I told you before, giving lifestyle. This is very important. Ahlak-ı hamidiyye is Islam, of course. Islam. Plus the giving lifestyle, but Islam on action, amenu and aminu salihati. Look, in many ayahs, amenu isn't enough. Amenu wa aminu salihati. If they are together, and aminu salihati should be like Imam Ali. They asked him, how much is the zakat? He asked, for you or for me? So our struggle, our effort should be very high. If we accomplish these preliminary conditions, the information, I have a question. Let's say I have a question. And I would like to have an answer to this question. So if I make this preliminary work, the ilhamat, the inspiration comes from God, and it accomplishes, the gestalt closes, and the information becomes hikmah. For example, very important for all of you, if you go to bed, sometimes, you know what, we go to bed, we have some questions, and we would like to have to dream about an answer in dreams. It's very important to go to sleep with wudu, clean. You make a wudu, and you recite maybe 10 times if you want more, Salavat-ı Şerife, sallallahu alayhi, Salavat-ı Şerife, and you recite some ayahs, and you dream like this. You sleep like this. This is the preliminary action you have done. You can be sure if you sleep like this, you have good dreams. And maybe in one of your dreams, the answer comes to your question. So Ibn Arabi calls this in the Futuhat-ı Mekkiye an encounter with God and human being, which gives then the answer to the question.
Jazakallah khairan, Hoja. That was a great answer, mashallah. And we will also upload the recording afterwards to your brothers and sisters, so you can always listen to the lecture again, just to deeper your reflections with regards to Hojam's lecture, inshallah. Hojam, we're going so much over time. There's so much questions. So you know what my suggestion is that I'll probably send some of the questions to you, and when you have time, you can just answer them, and we will email to all of our members who register for the session today, because I'm really mindful of your time. And please forgive us, brothers and sisters, for also taking your time as well. So I'll do a final question, Hojam. And there's so many great questions. So let me see if I can, because some of the questions you already answered. So it's a question regarding what is the recommendation for those on this path of study seeking qualifications? You already answered that, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Are there any other qualifications that will be more effective than Western psychology credentials? So this is a good question. What do you think, Hojam?
I didn't understand the question exactly. There are different Western approaches, and some of these approaches in psychotherapy we accept, and some others we do not accept, like hypnosis in our approach. They are recommended and not recommended Western approaches. And then as an alternative, we have our approach, Nefs Psikolojisi, which is under, actually, we started the Nefs Psikolojisi as transpersonal psychology, under branch of transpersonal psychology. But then we have noticed that transpersonal psychology is not enough. Transpersonal psychology, as represented in the Western world, for example, Sophia University in America, it's like a mixture of different traditions, spiritual traditions, and we don't recommend. With one exception, the founder of the Transpersonal Psychology Institute in America, the Sheikh Ragab Frager, he is also in the university, in the Sophia University in America. He's an exception, but other approaches of transpersonal psychology we don't recommend. But other psychotherapical schools like cognitive behavioral therapy, of course, if some people are interested, they can do it.
Barakallahu fikum, Hojam. Sister Zainab is...
Did I understand? Understood the question? Is it the answer is good?
Yeah, the answer was terrific. Thank you. I think a lot of people are wondering also generally, and we will actually address this question in ISIP's website, dear brothers and sisters. A lot of people are asking how to work with Islamic psychology or integrated Islamic psychotherapy. And inshallah, brothers and sisters, as soon as we release our website, we will explain this thoroughly, which avenues you can take, both within Islamic studies and Islamic psychological studies, but also which type of education you need to have perhaps in the Western framework as well, you know, whether you're a counselor, or maybe you should have a counselor degree or maybe a psychotherapy degree. So we will explain this in ISIP's website. Hojam, Sister Zainab is asking, do we need a mentor sheikh to do nafs tarbiyah?
It is very important that we understand tasawwuf is ilmi hal. And psychology, psychotherapy we make is ilmi kal. We have not the ambition of imitating the sheikh of tasawwuf method, the Sayr Suluk it is called. I call it Higher Human Development Academy. I call the Tariqa Higher Human Development Academy. There, the curriculum, the approach of Sayr Suluk, the spiritual training is totally different. We have inspiration from tasawwuf, of course, but we make a separation. Or if I give a simpler example, we psychotherapists, Sufi-oriented psychotherapists, Nefs psychotherapists, we clean the garden from the, how do you call it, the bad grass. The bad grass on the garden, how do you call it? Clean the garden from...
Yeah, taking away the weeds or, you know...
The weeds, yes, the garden, we clean. The Murshid-i Kamil grows there, makes rose garden. Rose garden, and what we make is It's a different thing. But sometimes you have to clean the garden so that roses can be grown there. This is very important. If someone says, I would like to engage myself in a serious Sufi school, of course, perfect. We don't put this as a precondition for our. But if someone has such an aspiration, of course, but the method is different. Or otherwise, we can call this like this: someone who goes through a Seyr Suluk, spiritual Sufi training, he cannot make it psychotherapy. The difference is not because he doesn't know. He knows much more than we. But this is ilmi kal. Ours is ilmi kal, and the other is ilmi hal. So on the other side, a psychotherapist like me should be very careful not to carry the persona of a sheikh. I'm a simple shrink, not a sheikh. I talk about Maulana, I talk about Ibn Arabi, I talk about spiritual heart as a psychotherapist, Nefs psychotherapist. This is very important because otherwise we have fake sheikhs, and the fake sheikhs are very, very dangerous.
This is such an important nasiha that you're giving us, Hojam, really, and something that we need to revisit again in our lecture series, inshallah. The importance to know what is the difference between being a clinician, as you say, you call yourself a shrink, which is a psychiatrist, and to be like a sheikh, or a murshid or something within the tasawwuf tradition, definitely. But we can learn a lot, as you say, Hojam, we can learn a lot from this tasawwuf tradition, when it comes to, as you say, speaking about the spiritual heart and also the maqam and hal and the concept of, the Sheikh-Murid relationship and the therapeutic, alliance. There is a lot of things that we can be inspired by. As you say, we need to differentiate our roles, mashallah. Barakallahu fikum. Hojam, you're so generous of your time. Please forgive us for taking so much of your time. I want you to enjoy your scenery. You're in Bodrum, in the beautiful city of Bodrum, enjoying the beautiful environment there, mashallah. So this will be the last question I'll ask you, because I think it's a very important question. And please forgive me, dear brothers and sisters, for us not being able to answer all of your questions. We will send the questions to dear Hojam, and inshallah we will email his answers. So there are a lot of questions regarding psychological scales, Hojam. Both Sister Ainul from Indonesia and also Sister Sakina, they're asking for diagnostic measures and scales when it comes to attentiveness of the heart, and also regarding the nafs and how to measure if one moves from lower nafs to upper nafs. Is there any psychological scales that have been established in this?
This is so hard, so hard. We can talk until tomorrow morning about this. What we first need is a diagram of spiritual states. In which spiritual states I find myself now? Wonder or mahabba, I don't know. So we need a diagram. We criticize a lot Western psychology, but there are some good things also we could accept from Western psychology and give an Islamic Sufi interpretation. What we need now is, if we have a pathology, we make a Hamilton score, Hamilton depression score, or Beck anxiety. But how is the person from just mentioned from the side of the spiritual states? So if we have a spiritual state test, or whatever you call it, then we can make this interpretation. Okay, the person had at the beginning merhame, mahabba, or I don't know, was at that level, and after 3 months what is now the level of his spiritual change? This is very, very, very important. Look, all these books, I have a lot of books here. This Minhaj al-Fuqara, Ismail Ankaravi. There are hundreds of spiritual states that we don't know. As Ken Wilber said, we have to make a new, he doesn't know tasawwuf, but he feels that these spiritual states are so important in pathology. He says, as Human Genome Project, we should have Human Spiritual States Project. They don't know, but we know. We know. I have here Haravi is one of these authors. Hundreds of spiritual states would change our feeling. So a diagram based on these spiritual states diagram and application to our patients, to our clients, and then see the difference. And then if it works like this, we can also affirm that our approach is effective. This, the empirical approach that far should be also done for us. So I'll be so happy if a work group would make a list of human spiritual states, and these spiritual and maybe one day we make a diagram, test diagram from the human spiritual states. I give always long answers, but is it clear what I want to say?
It's a great answer, and inshallah we can create this work group together with you, inshallah. So I'll just write our email. Please, if you're interested into joining this type of work group, because there is we need this evidence-based research and work, and we need to have, as Hojam says, and as a lot of you are really requesting scales, how we can do assessments. So feel free to email us and we will speak with Hojam. Maybe we can create an intercollaborative work group to see how we can create these type of scales, inshallah. Barakallahu feekum, Hojam. Please, round of applause again, digital applause, or open up your cameras if you want, and you can do like this with your hands. Thank you so much, Hojam, for taking your time. You've been so generous with your time. Please forgive me first and foremost for any of my shortcomings, and please forgive us for taking too much of your time. And thank you for really giving us a lot of great thoughts, great reflections, great nasiha, and great advice that inshallah we as students, seekers of knowledge, practitioners, clinicians, scholars will benefit from moving forward. We're looking forward to invite you for more lectures in the international team of ISIP. We're also looking forward to having lectures in Turkish with you, and Sister Zehra will be in touch with you organizing for the Turkish chapter. And inshallah we will work together doing this scale. So dear brothers and sisters, feel free to email at admin@isip.foundation if you want to be part of the work group creating skills together with Hojam and other scholars. We can look at it because this is something that we as clinicians and also those who aspire to be scholars, we need to work from the evidence-based perspective. And remember that evidence-based research was founded by Muslims. Ibn Sina rahimullah, Al-Razi rahimullah, they were the ones who stated and created evidence-based research. So we have it in our tradition as well, subhanAllah. So thank you. Hojam, would you like to end with the dua for us before we end the lecture?
Oh, Rabbil Alameen. We are a great family. We have been honored with your spirit. We have been honored with your beautiful names. We have been honored to be a representative of yourself. We have been honored, the most important of it, to be a part of this Muhammadan family that brings such a great responsibility towards humanity. Give us the give us the states, give us what we need to not only to Muslim brothers and sisters, to all humanity, to explain who the human being in reality is. We are unable to make du'as, Rabbil Alameen. Accept this dua, this modest dua, as the dua of Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As one of his duas. We can never compare our duas to him, but for his love, accept also this modest dua of ours. And inshallah, after this first meeting, we have other meetings, and like a snowball, this work of us gets greater, 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 and reaches all humanity.
Ameen, Ya Rabbil Alameen. This was an amazing, amazing dua. Thank you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept it for all of us, inshallah. Thank you so much, Hujjam. We will not take more of your time. We will be in touch. I will send you the information, your certificate, and also the brothers and sisters, feel free to join our WhatsApp groups and email us if you have any questions. Once more, thank you so much, Hujjam. Thank you to all of my colleagues, all of our colleagues, Sister Zainab, Sister Zahra, Sister Roa, Sister Shireen, and Dr. Noreen for doing an amazing job. Thank you all brothers and sisters for all of your great questions. We really appreciate it. And inshallah, we will meet you in 2 weeks again. And please forgive us for any shortcomings, and all the good comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So let's just end by reciting Surah Al-Asr. وَالْأَسْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. Jazakallah khairan, everyone. Thank you so much. Barakallahu feekum. We have over 100 members from all over the world. We have from ISIP, from Indonesia, Middle East. We have from Saudi Arabia, from Afghanistan, Iran. We have from Nigeria, from Turkey, from UK, from South Africa. So alhamdulillah, we're blessed by this. So thank you so much, brothers and sisters. And with this, we will end the session today. And barakallahu feekum, Hujjam. It's an honor to have you as our teacher and to learn from you. MashaAllah. You have done such an amazing work. We're very blessed to have you in the Ummah. Thank you. I'll let the Zoom chat be open for 1 minute, just for the sohbah's sake, inshallah. And we see each other in 2 weeks, brothers and sisters, when we have the lecture with Dr. Khalid Jabir from Saudi Arabia, one of the great scholars within the field of Islamic psychology. Feel free to join the ISIP Turkish chapter. We put the Google register form if you're interested and you're from Turkey or you speak Turkish. You could be from other Turkish-speaking countries. And feel free to join the ISIP Turkish WhatsApp group for informations. And we also shared a WhatsApp group for Islamic psychology that ISIP facilitates. Feel free to join those, and feel free to also answer the Google feedback form so we can get your feedback, and your nasiha is very important for us, inshallah. Jazakallah khairan, everyone. And please forgive us for our shortcomings. And please forgive me for my shortcomings. Barakallahu feekum.
Brother Jamaldeen, if you just pause the recording, inshallah.